Hi. Anyway, in this video, I thought it would be worth covering some things I've noticed that people get quite often wrong with regard to website designing, with regards to WordPress, or website designing as a whole. Quite a lot of people often go through stage. This includes me, and I think most other people in the world at least once. You want to try and make your site, to be blunt, as beautiful as possible. So you might do things, make sliders, make giant images, have high quality videos. You basically try and make your site as good as possible in a lot of cases, which so it does in theory have a beautiful look to it or a great design, which I can see the logic behind people doing it. But one thing people often get confused about or make mistakes on is they forget even if your site's beautiful, if it loads incredibly slow, which quite often is the case when you make sites too attractive, it'll often load slower. Sliders themselves in certain cases can actually make your site load a lot slower. Not always, but it does happen. Sliders themselves do often cause a delay in regards to how it's actually being coded and the site. And with regard to WordPress itself, this is something I notice quite often because I was doing an audit of someone's site and I was sort of noticing these sort of problems. And another thing you have to remember with regard to WordPress, which is quite important, WordPress itself is based on the dominant coding language in it is based on PHP. Now, PHP, in case you don't know, is around age 20 years old. This means, as a whole, it is quite an old thing. It doesn't mean PHP is terrible. That's not what my point is to you, but you have to be aware as a whole when you're using a software which is kind of old in modern society. That means in a lot of cases it won't be the best with regard to speed. For example, WordPress itself is quite a bloated software. You also have to consider, which is quite important if you're going to have a WordPress site, WordPress itself is, to be blunt, a blogging platform. Meaning, if you want to have, say, a really nice forum, in a lot of cases, WordPress itself is not compatible. Now, you could, for example, purposes, you could buy a really expensive server, you could optimize it a high amount, you could do things like that. But in a lot of cases, rather than doing a lot of work, in quite a lot of cases, it makes more sense to use something else. For example, build a site in Python would solve these problems. Build a site in React, or build a site in another style. It's whatever you want to do, but you should be aware with regard to WordPress. WordPress itself has a lot of limitations, particularly from the speed element. Another problem you have in regard to WordPress is, in a lot of cases, to do things, you need to rely on, plugins, that sort of things. And I know certain people, I can understand, when you start using WordPress, you'll have 10 plugins and you go 30 and you go all the way up. The more plugins you use in a lot of cases will actually slow down your site. For example, I generally, when it comes to WordPress sites, I try as much as possible to try and keep down to a minimum of like 5 to 10 plugins. Now, if you say, but I really need to say 12, that's generally fine. But of course, it depends on how well you've basically optimized your site. You can use plugins to do it, such as one from Frank. You can use comment to basically improve the quack speed of your site or load time of your site. There's many different things you can do, which can be great and all that. But you have to be aware, even when you're doing all these big improvements, in some cases it can actually be so complicated and so time consuming, it actually would make more sense for certain people to actually have, say, a Python site, a React site, or something else, or simply just straight hypertext markup language in some cases, or JavaScript, or whatever you want to do. That's something people can do, or say build a site in, say, Agile, or many other styles you can do. There is lots of options for you. But if your goal with your website is to make it the most beautiful site in the world, if that's what you're into, what you want to do, WordPress as a whole is not really designed for it. It's got so many limitations regarding speed, plus the security in WordPress is, to be blunt, pretty horrible in most cases. I mean, you don't have to be very smart or very technical to be able to realize it is pretty easy to get in someone's site. I know people can't change, the login page, but that in general is going to do at best very little to protect your site in most cases. And even if you're going to say, but I got my security email, that kind of stuff. Yeah, having security email is cool and all that. But if someone breaks into your email and breaks into your stuff, it's going to do you very little good as a whole. So be aware of these sort of things if that's what you want to do with WordPress. And also as well, if this is what you're really into, you really want to make a really great site, I would say WordPress in general is not suitable. From a speed perspective, it's very bad. You're also working quite an outdated software, so it's not really going to do as good as many other more modern systems. I know WordPress also has hypertext markup language and also CSS in it, and JavaScript, but the main thing in it still is actually PHP coding as a whole. So be aware of these sort of things. If that's what you want, a really attractive site, WordPress itself will generally not be for what you want. If it's something you really want, a really attractive site, you can use Python. You can get Python hosting quite easy. You can do things like Gigando or Flask or any other way you want to do it. If you don't want, straight Python, you can use a system to make it more easy for, as I said, Gigando and also Flask and other ones. So there is options for you if you want to go down the Python route. If you can't do it or you don't want to, you can easily enough pay people who can do Python site building for you if that's what you need. You can also, if you want to go down a different route, such as React, that's a potential thing you can do to build a website as well. There is also many different options for you. You can get also static site builders if that's what you want to. Static site builders, I would kind of say in some cases, is like it's like you're almost getting all the perks of sort of almost getting all the perks of hypertext markup language, but instead you got more help if you need it. So you could do something like that if that's what you want to. I haven't really done too much static site building as a whole, but I have seen effects. It does generally load really fast, and if you pick a right firm to buy off or to get your service, it will generally work really well. Anyway, that's what I do. Thanks. Bye.